It kind of reminds me of a meme I just saw on Wall Street Bets earlier today. It was like one of the memes was, "I miss the days of 60 to 70% volatility. What is this 2 to 3% moves in a day? This is nothing." I'm like, I don't know how long these guys have been trading for, but I don't know how long they're going to last for.
Yeah.
Uh, I guess that would I'll take that into. Well, you kind of said you need your body to relax. How do you handle success? How do you handle failure? And then I'll ask Steve how you pick traders up when they've hit the rock bottom.
I don't know. You want to start with this, Steve?
Yeah. Well, I think, again, there's a lot of individual difference in people's kind of tolerance for the ups and downs of trading. Some traders have big swings in their P&L, and things, and that is demanding on the body, because a big up creates a big positive stress response, excitement, and a big down brings you into kind of a real big kind of fear, anxiety, stress response, negative. So the body's really taking a hammering. Other traders and market makers are a great example of this, have a much steadier kind of, slow return over time, little highs, little lows, but gradual improvement. So individual style and preference is going to determine really how big the highs are and how big those lows are and what your pattern is. But you've got to have the psychology to deal with that, and also the physiology. So people will find a way of doing that. And obviously what I try and do is give clients some mental skills and some physical skills to work with that. But I mean, just your strategy, how you manage your risk, all those kind of fundamental factors play a big part in that as well. And then when someone is down, has a big loss, or is particularly if they're going through maybe a period of drawdown, so it's sustained. For me, it's always looking at, well, what's happening here. So, it's happened. We've got to accept it's happened. That's the first thing, whether it's sustained or in the moment. Accepted it's happened. You can't change it. But what do we do now going forward? So, what can we learn from what's going on? If it's a loss we've already taken, then what can we learn from the experience? If it's a period of drawdown we're in, then what's the opportunity for us to kind of learn and grow from this experience? What can we be gaining from this that could be valuable? Other things we need to do to adjust or change or shift. I mean, typically, if a P&L goes up or down for somebody, it's either the market's done something different, or the trader has, or both. So, we can start to look at, well, where did that come from? Whatever the outcome is, what created it? Was it something I did, the market, or was it a bit of both? And I think, for traders who have had a tough time, and again, it's very individual. Some traders are very good. They're quick to recover. And I've seen that in some of my hedge fund clients, and they've identified that as a strength they have. Other people, it does take longer to kind of process the emotions that go with that. And I think, again, going back to Jamie's point earlier, a lot of it really is about trying to set the game up so that it works for you. So if you know that you don't like taking big losses, then you need to moderate your strategy and your risk to allow for that. And I think, sometimes traders are too fixed in doing things in a certain way because they've read it somewhere or heard it somewhere, and it's working against them. And it becomes a painful, uncomfortable experience that's unsustainable. And I think the more skilled traders and those who've become successful, what they've done through exposure to losses and exposure to drawdown is they found ways of coping with it. And essentially what my phrase is, we want to find ways of getting good at it, because you can't avoid it. You can't avoid losses. You can't avoid even big losses to a degree, relatively big losses. You can't avoid drawdown. It's all going to happen. It's just building up the confidence that when they do happen, that you can deal with it. And that's partly risk management, it's partly strategy, and then it's partly having kind of the psychological coping skills that that you can deal with it, and a bit of optimism. Things will get better. It might take some time, a bit like with the pandemic. It's going to get better. It might take some time. And in drawdown, you've got to kind of deal with the brutal reality that it's pretty tough right now, but keep a sense of it will get better. And what can I be doing to be active in making it better? The danger is kind of a sense of helplessness or hopelessness, and just kind of, I'll ride it out, see what happens over time, as opposed to actively engaging and being involved in that process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's all part of the training, right? Not just studying the markets, but understanding how your own mind works. And you're not going to know until it happens. And then at that point, you try to work through it by understanding your own, your own brain. I guess as a practical suggestion, just for dealing with losses, I know like a lot of prop desks have certain loss limits, right? So, maybe loss limit for a day, a week, a month. So I've known guys who have hit their loss limit for like a month, say in the first couple of days of the month. You can't trade till the next month if that happens. So that would be a practical example. How to deal with losses? Just stop, and let you got to go back to training, right? Go back to practice. Means, go back and figure it out, whether that means probably a combination of going back and looking at your strategy. And there's a fine line between doing like something like that and style drift, right? Which now we're going to get into a whole different conversation. But yeah, so just because something goes wrong doesn't mean that you go back and you change your whole plan to trade. But maybe you just go and kind of relax your brain and get back into a better, a better place mentally. Would be my biggest, advice as far as dealing with losses are concerned, which is probably much more important than dealing with winners, right? I mean, what a terrible problem to have, dealing with too many big winners. But yeah, that's my suggestion.
And I think tying into Jamie's point, Michael, as well, is being aware that when you look at a loss or a series of losses, is for me, it's essential traders have a good data set. They have good metrics over their trading performance, because if I move into, say I've had 5 losing trades in a row, now the big question is really, I mean, there's a financial impact on that. There could be an emotional impact, but is it out of the norm? In my strategy, is it normal for me to have periods of 5 losing trades in a row? If so, I don't need to panic too much. If I normally only have 1 or 2 in a row and now I get to 5, then maybe the warning light needs to come on. I need to pay attention and start digging down a little bit deeper. Likewise, if my average losing trade is X units, then there's nothing really to worry about. I should be conditioned to deal with that. But if it becomes 2x or 3x, it's going to have a bigger impact. So what do I do now? And I agree with Jamie. Sometimes, taking a break, taking a walk could be a minute, an hour, a day, a couple of days, a week sometimes, but letting the body and mind recharge and recover sometimes is what's needed. And I think individuals just have to find a framework that works for them, for how they deal with this. And again, I think you can do this up front. You can be thinking already, what is my process that's in place for dealing with losses and drawdown within my normal range? And what do I do that's different if it falls outside of that normal range, where maybe there's a bit more recovery and work that needs to be done? But also remembering that every single time you operate outside of the norm, you're developing skills that help you to operate outside of the norm. So even when it's really tough and hard, you're going to be gaining physiologically and psychologically skills and abilities that will make you better in the longer run. So I think that's really important to stress sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I had this conversation like 8 years ago when I hit my loss. It was like trading family money, and oh man, I lost it. I couldn't look in the mirror at myself, and I just wanted, I laid down on the floor like in the movie, like the guy in The Big Short, and I just was like, I wonder if this floor will open up and just suck me in. There's like no lower. How much lower can I go? And over time, I realized, things get better. Life goes on. You're still here. You can make it right. Get back up and get back at it. And then a buddy of mine said, "Oh, have you seen Tinder?" I was like, "Oh." So I found some success on that app, and the success, getting some success always helps, and picks you back up. I don't know what the kids
on the positive. That's right.
Yeah, I don't know what the kids are using for as an app these days, but I'm sure it's evolved.